Honorable, please. You wanted to move a motion, but you did not proceed. No, it's all right. So I'll take it that it's been withdrawn. But actually, no, I'm coming. Just allow me to land. we were thinking of convening the ABC committee tomorrow. Yeah? Sorry, on Monday, for the session for the sittings to be suspended, not adjourned, which will allow, just like you see, just like we did on the 18th or on the 17th, we did not know what was happening, so we thought of suspending this, the sitting until further notice. So maybe we can use the same method and just suspend. So you can, I take it that you withdraw your motion. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Honorable member for, yeah, the ABC will bring the motion. Jarra East, honorable member for Jarra East.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the floor. Madam Speaker, state of public emergency is not declared during ordinary times, but rather during extraordinary circumstances, like the one we are facing right now, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I read the motion and that of the submission of the Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters. Madam Speaker, if you put all these things, the prayers that are sought in the mover's motion and that of the mover of the Standing Committee, Madam Speaker, they are all speaking the same language. If we put them in a nutshell, they are all meant to assuage the plight, the concerns, or the threats that we are facing as a country. That's the long and short of the motions presented here, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I must thank the Standing Committee on Human Rights and Constitutional Matters for mellowing down the 90 days to 45 days. Madam Speaker, it goes without saying that every bullet has a pellet, or if you like, there is no smoke without fire. Madam Speaker, the reduction is informed by a special circumstance that we are confronted with as a country. And this is a test case for Gambia. Whether the country is going to stand the test of time is anybody's guess. But it boils down to our level of preparedness, to our level of commitment, and to our level of sincerity by extension. Madam Speaker, previous speakers have spoken so eloquently about the extant issue at hand, that is COVID-19. And Madam Speaker, I am not in any mood to dilute the eloquence of their speeches. They have done fantastically well. Madam Speaker, for any government to succeed, or for any parliament to succeed, you must try to transform the fantasies of your people into realities. When that is done, such a government is deemed to have succeeded. Once the wishes and aspirations of our citizenry is found at the heart, Madam Speaker, we can beat our chest for having satisfied, for having stood for our people. If this is not done, Madam Speaker, we are not yet out of the woods. May God forbid. Therefore, the onus is on us to take our people out of the woods, to avoid our people being at crossroads. This virus, Madam Speaker, please grant me leave to whet our appetite historically. Madam Speaker, this thing happened. It was such a plague of high magnitude during the caliphate of Omar. May God be pleased with him. And the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, sent a word for those that are trying to come to the plague-prone or plague-torn country to stay put. And another word was also sent for those who are found in the plague-prone area to stay put, principally to contain the deadly malady. Madam Speaker, the measures highlighted by the Honorable Minister for Attorney General and that of the mover of the Standing Committee must be seen as palliative measures, measures that are meant to serve as mitigation measures, measures that could be seen as buffer or to cushion the effect of this deadly novel COVID-19. Do we have what it takes as a country to tackle head-on this deadly malady? Madam Speaker, I call this deadly malady as the marauding beast. It's a marauding beast, very ferocious, very ferocious. It knows no border, it knows no boundary. And it says no to diplomacy. So therefore we must strengthen our surveillance mechanisms. We must strengthen our fighting mechanisms so as to nip this in the bud once and for all. But that can only be done when we observe in total WHO guidelines concerning containment of the virus. That's the only panacea for this virus to be nipped in the bud. Without that, forget it. We must never be complacent. Madam Speaker, speakers upon speakers made mention of astronomical sum of 500 million. Madam Speaker, you agree with me that this sum is quite colossal by all standards. I am not Pythagoras, but I did my calculation yesterday when the night was very young with my better half, and we arrived at each Gambian, when we distribute it, it's likely going to have 250,000 dollars. My mathematics is not good.
Correction, please, point of correction.
No, I have tried myself.
I want to correct you.
You're welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much. Yes, Honorable Speaker, if you divide 500 million divided by 2 million people, it gives you $250. 250 times 500 give you 2 million. Thank you.
Thank you. You are my Pythagoras, huh? But I've tried myself. Thank you.
Also have
Speaker,
Mr. Honorable Sandu, who is also very good at mathematics.
yes.
You can consult him.
Exactly. That was a wrong calculation. Thank you, member for Cantora. Madam Speaker, having said that, Madam Speaker, I am concerned for the fact that how is this whooping 500 million going to be utilized. I am concerned about the trickle-down effect, which is very key. It goes without saying that corruption is never a kidney stone in Africa, but always a cancer. And the cancer must be nipped in the bud if you want to make any significant headway. I repeat, Madam Speaker, corruption has never been a kidney stone in Africa, but always a cancer. That cancer must be eliminated forthwith. Those officers who are asked to preside over the disbursement of this fund must learn to do it correctly. Madam Speaker, we are going to fail totally if there is an element of financial maleficence in this disbursement. And I stand to be corrected. That has begun to rear its ugly head. We have been coming to the assembly here for a fortnight just to come and lay hand on the materials, the hand sanitizers, the buckets. For 2 weeks, we have been going, coming. When this pandemic is at its height, even not here, but in other jurisdictions, we have been coming here for 2 weeks. I, for one, I have been coming with my driver. But guess what? Every day new tales. Every day new tales. I wonder who is to blame. Madam Speaker, with that type of attitude, we risk failing in giving a heavy blow to the virus. If we cannot lay hand on our materials on time, when the virus reaches its climax, how can we succeed in defeating the virus? And the buckets that were given to you, Madam Speaker, 17, but 4 of them, the covers are undersized. I had to dip my pocket, my hand into my pocket to buy certain things for my people. Honestly, I was not happy because I came under a barrage of criticism, which is not my making, because I was confronted. But this is quite, exiguous. This is quite infinitesimal. I have 33 villages in my constituency. Imagine 17. Even I'm not a Pythagoras, I know that is quite infinitesimal. So it put me in a very, very funny situation. To be very frank, in a very, very funny situation. At a certain point, I thought maybe the government is trying to pit me against my people. That's the notion I had. And I have also noticed something which I was not satisfied. The health committee, they have done tremendously well. But when it comes in terms of procedural matters, the matters should have been handled by the Office of the Clerk. The Minister of Health should have liaised with the Office of the Clerk, because the Office of the Clerk serves as a conduit to all types of business in the House. And this Parliament is here to observe procedures, due process. So I was taken aback. They have done extremely well. But is it under their domain? Why is it that the ministry didn't liaise with the Office of the Clerk? Because I was thinking that when I come to my pigeonholes, I'll find letters there from the Office of the Clerk. That is communication. But everything was handled by the Health Committee. And that is not procedural. That's a serious flaw. Despite they have done extremely well. But that's my desired opinion. That's a serious flaw. Whatever that's what was transacted here must be given to the Office of the Clerk. They are the conduit, the only conduit in terms of dealing with affairs of the House. If you usurp their powers, That's unacceptable. I repeat, if you usurp their powers, that's unacceptable. And it's unparliamentary. Having said that, Madam Speaker, so that goes to speak that there was a form of disconnect, a massive disconnect between the office of the clerk and that of the ministry. So such practice was never allowed to happen again. It's not correct. That's a serious flaw. Madam Speaker, essential commodities. I must thank the member for Jarra for stealing my mind. When I saw essential commodities, I said, one man's meat is another man's poison. Or maybe he spoke before me, that's why. He stole my ideas. Madam Speaker, if you weigh this against economic sense, with your indulgence, economists will say, ceteris paribus, all things being equal. But Madam Speaker, these are concepts. These are concepts. All things are never equal. And this is why Aristotle, with your indulgence, I quote, says equality means equals to be treated equally and unequals unequally, end of quote. So equality is an abstract. It's an abstract. It cannot be visualized. It's just a concept. So if you say essential commodities, Madam Speaker, some petty traders, if you ask them to clear their wares from their stalls, you will create a problem for them. Because some of them are breadwinners of their families, and they go out to eke out a living. They must fend for themselves and that of their families. So if they are deprived of not selling at the market, Madam Speaker, that will be a very big problem. So the cushioning effect that I was talking about, government should try and do something as a matter of palliative measure, because an empty tummy cannot stand. An empty tummy cannot stand. If you ask people to stay put, there must be something for them to bank on. If that is not available, it will have a corresponding, we link with their this thing, with their ability to find food. And when the ability to find food is nowhere to be seen or given, there is tendency for them to resort to criminal activities. I think government should look at this thing very closely. It is very key. If you ask people to stay put, that's okay. But why can't we replicate the Rwandan experience? What is happening in Rwanda right now? If what is making rounds in the social media is anything to go by, the president has taken the bull by the horn in Rwanda and is at the forefront. Madam Speaker, why we say the president of the Gambia should do the same thing, I must thank the president, because I watch his telecast on TV. But the president must be mentioned here because the president dictates the national diary and its timelines on behalf of the governed. That's the fact. It is President Barrow who dictates the national diary and its timelines on our behalf. So he must be mentioned. And this is the time to show statesmanship. It's very key. The government have done extremely well, but it's never enough. To keep people in their houses, Madam Speaker, is very difficult. It's very, very difficult. They must have something to bank on. When that is not there, then you are telling them, you can go and do anything you like, which is not good. So stay put without banking on anything is a recipe for confrontation, it's a recipe for criminal activities. So the government must be minded about that. Madam Speaker, Sensitization. We need to sensitize our people on the dangers of COVID-19. It's real. Whether you take it or not, it's something real. Although expectations were raised, but after a reality check, most of them were dampened because of the type of people who are presiding over certain things. Because these things call for, attitudinal change, commitment, and love one's country. But if that time is lacking, Madam Speaker, we cannot make a headway. Forget it. I went to my constituency. I went to almost all the villages. But could you believe there are some people there, there are some families there, they are living in abject poverty. And like all other constituencies, there are people there who are living in untold suffering. Even to afford 1 square meal is a problem. Even to buy hand sanitizer, by respecting WHO standards, is a problem there. And Madam Speaker, if you go to the recommendations of the Standing Committee, I read it very well, but I have not seen the purchase of hand sanitizers. I have not seen WHO health guidelines being mentioned. That is to observe social, physical distancing. I was of the view that the committee will capture that. Because those things are very key. Social distancing, decongestion, frequent and thorough hand washing. I have not seen them. And those things are very key. It could be an oversight, but I was of the view that the committee was going to highlight them by respecting WHO standards. But I have not seen them in the recommendations. Madam Speaker, we have to go to our constituencies and sensitize them adequately. You have people there who are considered as the doubting Thomases. Still, they don't believe. They don't believe. You have to do a lot of work for you to convince them. And that advocacy must be spearheaded by NAMS. And we cannot do advocacy with empty hands. Madam Speaker, this is why this 500 million is a talking point in the country. And it will continue to be a talking point as long as this COVID-19 is with us here. And those who are presiding over the disbursement of this 500 million, whether you know it or not, you are already under the microscope. You are already under the microscope. So please, for the health of our country, for the health of our citizenry, let us make sure that these monies are utilized what they are meant for. Madam Speaker, as an environmentalist and someone who doubles as the chair of the Environment Committee, the environment in me is telling me to admonish the Ministry of Health to fumigate our environment so that we can live in a decent fashion. Madam Speaker, you will agree with me that our forefathers handed the environment to us in one piece. We must also learn to make sure we hand it over to the generation yet unborn, not in pieces. Not in pieces. Because it was given to us in one piece. But lest we forget, we must never hand it over to the generation yet unborn in pieces. If that happens, it means we are failed woefully. This COVID-19 is true, it's a reality. We must all try to observe the WHO health guidelines to the letter. Because that's the only way we will be safe from this COVID-19. It's deadly. And we all know the incubation period is 14 days. So it's difficult to tell who is having the virus. But when we pay heed to WHO standards, there is tendency for us to be safe from this deadly malady. Madam, to that end, before I take my seat, I want to pray to Almighty God, the omnipotent and most clement, so as to save us from this deadly COVID-19.